the most it's ever been. Welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Marcus. I did have someone ask me why I always yell to start the show, and it's a fair question. I don't know why.
I want to know why you said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah," and you went back and forth, and I got no drum roll.
I think you're too dependent on the drum. I'm trying to wean you off of the drum roll. I don't think you need the drum roll.
I don't understand that. I thought that was like that was ready. That was the warning.
Let's do this. How about you drum roll, and when the drum roll starts, I will click the start button.
Whoa!
And now your drum roll.
So I can kind of control things. I have a little bit of participation.
And now I don't have to look like a buffoon drum rolling on a desk to start the show every morning. I didn't tell you about this. I have pictures for you. These are the mullet championships. Oh. You are going to fall over when you see some of these photos. That was not there. I thought you'd be more excited about the mullet. Are you not a mullet fan?
Well, I lived through the mullet era.
Okay, yeah. So you'll appreciate some of these.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Office etiquette, you got some stories for us. Big 10, big money. I want to jump into that with you as well. And then some afterthoughts. I got a couple of different photos, things like that. Before we get going, Mark, how are you feeling today?
I'm good. Okay. I want to know. I forgot to mention this yesterday because we had Seth Sponhouse on.
Yes.
And do you want to remind people Uzis?
Can you imagine the musical The Uzis?
Uzis.
People would line up to see that.
Newsies opens tonight. Are you officially going tonight?
I am not. So my tickets are for next Friday.
Next Friday.
So I was right about the Friday. I was wrong about which
Friday. So grab your tickets. I know it's a busy week for Little League people, but I know a lot of the theater people, and it's a unique time at the end of summer. Yeah. But anyway, grab your tickets, because one of the other things we didn't mention with ticket sales, especially at smaller venues that where they are in a definite supply and demand issue, there are lots of times that people go to, especially like when I've seen a show twice.
Yes.
That people will go the first weekend and then they're talking about it. And someone says, one of their friends says, "Oh, that's cool. I would have loved to see it. I didn't know." And they're like, "Well, I'll go back with you."
Okay.
So there are people who see it the first weekend who end up gobbling up tickets for the second weekend. And they always talk about how opening night sells, but the second weekend sells better than the first weekend because people procrastinate and people wait for word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so if you really want to go, hop on the Williamsport CTL website this weekend. Try to get a ticket for this weekend.
Yeah.
Because next weekend, once it hits like Monday, next weekends will go fast.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I already have my tickets.
Right.
People are literally already planning to get their tickets, me included, for next weekend. So they really will. How about this? I wanted to throw this.
Oh, I did want to mention this too. Sorry, I forgot. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. This is good. 70,000 followers. We just wanted to say thank you. NorthcentralPa.com, NorthcentralPA on Facebook. Kind of a big milestone. We had been talking about it for a while. Would we ever get to 70,000? Did you catch that? Were you close? I thought you might have caught it.
I knocked it down.
You knocked it down. That was good. That was close. I thought you had it. 70,000 followers. What did you want to say?
Well, about the 70,000 followers,
Yeah.
when we took over the site in May of 3 years ago.
Okay.
So it's been 3 years and 3 months. We had about 35,000.
Yeah.
And I remember Jerry talking about these things. He's like, "Oh, man, we'll get to 100,000." I was like, "No, we won't." And he's like, "Oh, eventually we could." And I was like, "How?" We're 35. Like, the site had been around 9 years. It had, it had 35,000, which to me was a huge number.
Sure.
Like, for any local website that's doing this stuff, to get
35,000 is fantastic.
Is huge.
Yes.
And I'm like, we can't triple that. And so here we are in 3 years. We've doubled it. And kudos to Carrie and Jerry and our staff, and thank you to all our followers. Yeah. Also, thank you to our biggest advertising sponsors, UPMC, and who took blood out of my arm yesterday.
Yes, they did.
And I did not faint. I did not get lightheaded. I did not I always banter with the nurses to try to break my own tension.
Okay.
Because so they were prepared for the worst.
Sure.
But it went well, and I think the nurse was even disappointed that it didn't hurt more, because I just I barely even hurt. Like, do you have any problems giving blood?
I'm not supposed to. I don't know the scientific whatever behind it. I have mitral valve prolapse, which is a heart condition.
You told me that.
So because I have a heart condition, I have been told. Now, I was told that when I was younger, I would be curious if I mean, it was 20 years
Well,
ago.
let's put it this way.
Yeah.
I didn't donate blood. I
Okay.
did my blood screening. Like they
Okay.
took a couple vials to check cholesterol and
Gotcha.
those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not like I was at a Red Cross.
Okay.
This was so when you do this, you're done in 15 seconds.
Sure.
They only take however much.
Okay.
But that's a long 15 seconds for people like me who don't like needles. But
Don't you
so
just
yeah.
look away? Like don't you just
Now
look away?
the phone has helped me immensely
Okay.
because I just scroll and I find something to read.
Okay.
But and yes, as long as I can,
It helps out.
it helps me to look away. But back in the day, you just looked away and you just waited for it.
Sure.
Now, if you can engross yourself in something else, that has really helped me a lot.
Yeah. No, it's been good.
So there we go.
So anyway, thank you guys. We were excited. It was something we had been talking about for quite some time. 70,000 followers. Some random stuff coming up. Brett Crossley is doing a great job over at the Little League World Series.
Brett loves the Little League World
He
Series.
enjoys it a lot. So he's been.
Do you know? You might not know this.
What's
the
that?
first. So again, we took over in May
Okay.
of I should know 2019.
Yeah.
May of 2019. So when we covered the Little League World Series back then, we just had a skeleton crew. There were just a couple of
Sure.
us. So I was like, well, I know baseball, and Carrie's like, well, I like to take pictures. So it was kind of, she was down in the camera well, I was up top and I'm doing stories. And I saw Brett there. And we've known Brett just from being local sports people.
Yeah.
And we were talking. He was like, hey, I see what you guys are doing. I'd love to work for you guys someday.
Yeah.
And I came back. I was like, hey, there's this guy. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a writer, takes really good photos. And we'd be interested. So, like, we're not ready now, but when the time comes.
Yeah.
So that is how Brett really got on board with us. Was us covering games with him at the Little League World Series, even though he's working for someone else.
That's
so
really
it's
cool.
Yeah.
So he's over there. Be sure to check out. We have some photo galleries going up, things like that. Really, really cool. Anything else before I head out?
Are we done?
Well, no, I'm going to head out of this.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Moving to the next
I
one.
was like, that's the quickest show we've ever done.
You had a whole bunch of things. I'm going to let you run the show today. I have mullet pictures.
I just want to tell the office etiquette story is funny.
Go
So
for
we'll
it.
just start with that.
Yeah.
Then we'll get to the mullet. Well, the
Let's
mullet
do it.
stuff. If mullet isn't funny, then what is funny?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here this morning, minding my own business. Jerry walks in and he says, I'm going to ask a very strange favor of you. And so immediately I'm concerned. He says, okay. He says, follow me. So I'm okay. So I follow him into his office.
Okay.
And this is a very long, awkward walk
Okay.
because I have no idea what I'm getting into.
Okay.
And we go into his office. He lays down on his side and he does like this spinal twist to crack his back.
Okay.
And he's like, I need you to step on my knee and hold my knee down so I can. So I do that and roll over, and he does it and roll over. And you can hear his back crack. And he's like, oh, thank you. It feels better.
Okay.
So I said, Jerry, let me just give you some advice. If this ever happens again, just say, hey, I need you to help me crack my back.
Okay.
Because everyone that has been asked to every male in their life at some point. And we're like, okay, what do you need me to do? But when you walk in someone's office and say, I have a very strange favor to ask you, follow me.
Yeah.
There is an awkwardness. It was an awkward
Totally.
20 seconds.
I will say this, like, kind of in Jerry's defense, because there are people who like massages and there are people who don't. I am somebody, like, I am an anti-massage. I don't love the physical touch of people touching me. So what happens?
So you don't like getting a massage?
No, I just don't like. It's just awkward. Like, I don't like people kind of like it's awkward. So anyway, here's the point I'm making to you. I think for people like me, asking people to do something like that, even if it's just like holding someone's knee down, becomes like an awkward ask because we're just not used to having people like touch us. No, you don't think so?
I mean, maybe I always thought, I've had a thought that you cross your arms like this,
And someone
you
picks
grab the
up
elbow, and
from
you're like,
behind.
hey, can you crack my
No,
back?
I get it.
I think every guy has done that multiple times.
You
on
don't think
both
it's
sides.
awkward at all? Like, you don't. There's no like.
No.
Yeah. See, I know
don't-
I'm a little weird. Like, that's just kind of like a little introverted side of me. Like, I just don't really love people like touch me. Like, I hate hugging people when you say goodbye. Like, I just don't. I don't know. Like, I just don't need that.
Okay, now a puppy just showed up in your lap,
It did.
and you almost couldn't do that. You almost canceled the show.
You don't understand. That puppy almost solved world peace the moment I accepted it.
And like,
into
it's a
my
cute
life.
little puppy.
Yes.
So if I said my back, can you crack my back? You would say, go ask like Julie.
Listen, I would do it for you because I'm not like an awful human being. But like,
But it would be awkward.
Am I like excited that you asked me to do it? Like, no.
Huh? That's interesting.
Yeah. I realize I'm in the minority of that. Like,
now,
most people love massages. They love, like,
most people do. Yeah.
This is an example. When I was growing up, my mom was like a big like back, and like I just never like, it was kind of like
you cringed.
Like, I didn't cringe, but it wasn't consoling the way I think people
even your own mom.
Just in general, like, okay. I just don't love people. Like, I think, like, I'm trying to think of examples. Like, even through coaching, like, I give high fives and like stuff like that, but like even during like celebrations and like team photos and stuff, like I just don't love that aspect of like, I don't know, something about it. Not a physical touch type of person.
Okay, I get it. And I have a daughter who's way less huggy.
Okay.
Of my 3 kids, I have one who's way less huggy than the other 2.
Yeah.
And it's not my son. Like,
yeah.
Which is just, so you just like, the bro hug or whatever.
And I'll do it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like,
no, and she will too.
Yes.
But you can tell it's not like, she's not running across the room like this.
I do not need physical consoling to feel loved. Like, it's not something I seek out or that I feel I need.
Speaking of, can I tell you just a funny, obnoxious story? You'll appreciate this.
Okay.
I was in my 20s. Mm-hmm. I worked for a medical research company.
Okay.
And down in Baltimore, outside of Baltimore. And there was this convention out in LA that we were working, we're like a device that we were trying to get patented and all this stuff. And so I was there for, like, I was the first line of people that went out. There were only a couple.
Okay.
And this one executive, he was a Chinese guy. His name was John Mon.
Okay.
And his brother or brother-in-law, I think it was his brother-in-law, owned the company. And John was a good dude. He was in his 50s. So I'm like late 20s.
Okay.
And just really smart, but like a good guy.
Sure.
And so when at LAX, because I had to go pick him up then at the airport.
All right.
And so there's this, it almost looks like half a football field length, like where they come through and they deboard the plane and then they just walk through this big empty rectangle. And, sometimes these planes come off, there's, there are people way at the front, there are people way at the back, because there's 200 people on some of these big planes.
Okay.
He comes off. He is the 4th person as they come out. And there's like, oh, 1, 2, 3, and there's John. And I'm telling you, 50 yards of openness. I go like this. I put my arms out, and I yell, John! And I go running across the thing. Right. And he was just like looking up. Oh, great. It was one of the funniest, 10 seconds of my life.
Yeah.
And he was not happy when I got it. He wasn't like mad, but he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm so happy to see you.
You didn't have like the sign or anything like that?
No, I did not have that.
Just ran at him with open arms.
I did not have that. Yes.
Can I show you some mullets? Because we have a challenge. Ryan says, how much of a donation do I have to make to have you both grow?
You can't grow a mullet.
You don't think I can grow one?
No.
It would be weird.
I don't think your hair can go longer than like half an inch.
It would be weird for me to try to grow a mullet.
Oh.
How greater. See, I knew you were going to love this. I'm so excited now because I was like, he's going to.
Dude, the one on the right.
Yes.
Is that even real?
There's more. So there's more photos you go down through. So you could grow a mullet, I'm guessing, just from looking at the hair.
In the day, in the early 90s, I had one.
You had a legitimate mullet.
I could bring a picture in.
Like shaved sides, back.
No. Not just like normal sides like they are all the time.
Okay.
I just didn't cut it in the back.
Okay. Interesting. My hair kind of like it doesn't sit. My hair kind of kinks if I let it grow out, which is why I keep it so short. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I would assume if I let it go.
When was the last time your hair was any longer than that?
This is really short. I just cut it now.
Well, but
no.
To me, that's how you always look.
Yeah, no, we have some, before middle school for sure.
Like 8 years old?
When I was like 13, 14, I was kind of getting this haircut from from the person who cut it.
I had mine is like yours. There was a picture. If it was long and it was wet, it was fine.
Okay.
But if it was dry, it would curl. And so there were times that I had like these big curly wings.
Right. Ryan says Jeff cuts his hair every 2 weeks. He can definitely. I do. I cut my hair every 2 weeks by myself. It grows. It's insane how quick my hair grows. It's nuts.
I think you should grow a mullet then.
It would be interesting. It would be very, very interesting. So here's first of all, how about these names? Epic, Rustin, and Landry are battling it out in a U.S. Mullet Championship. Those are their real names.
That can't be their real name.
That's their real name.
The
Wait until you
person's
see.
name is Epic?
Wait, and look, they made like playing cards for the competitors. How great is this? So this is Epic from La Jolla, Texas, one of the competitors. What do you think? 1 through 10.
How old is this dude?
1 through 10. What do you think?
It's a 10. How do you do better?
It's a 10?
How do you do better
You're going to
than
start
that?
at 10? This is Nolan from Durant, Oklahoma. What do you think?
Oh, he's got the part.
He does have the part.
The part.
Now
and
here's the
mullet.
challenge for you. You started at 10, so I have no
Well,
idea.
I
where
don't.
you're going.
Can you go back to the first one? Can you scroll back? Epic is beating Nolan.
Okay.
I mean, Nolan's is good. I like here. Okay, scroll back again one more time. Like, and that's what that is a 90s mullet is supposed to look like. He's even got the sunglasses and stuff. When
Okay.
you scroll down to the next kid, who's the next kid's name?
Nolan.
Nolan's like a cute little kid.
Yeah, no.
Like, yeah, Nolan's not as good.
Okay.
Nolan might be an 8.
Oh, it gets better. So this is Lincoln from Cleveland, Virginia.
See, now Lincoln, he's got
the wave going a little bit.
see, isn't that a little long? That's like looks like pretty girl hair going there. Like, I think it's too long.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I see what I get what you're saying. This is Emmett from
Oh,
North
Emmett's a
Carolina.
10. We have a tie.
I love the bowl line in the,
Yes,
in the front.
yes,
This
that is
really what
perfect.
does it.
That
really,
is
really does
perfect.
it. This is Brock from Douglas, Georgia. He's got the Top Gun lines.
Yeah,
in the
he's
front.
See, you can see. Look at how his is really curly
Yes.
as it goes down.
This
But that's
one-
good. I like the kind of angry badass. I think that one looks good too.
This is my pick so far.
Brock.
Yes.
Wait, go back to the first one again.
This is Epic. This is Brock.
I think I got to go with Epic still.
Okay, that's fine. Here, this is Jack from Florida.
Oh, he's a little kid.
He's got a little mohawk going with it.
Oh yeah, you got to give him credit for the mohawk.
Little-
I like
little
the
frohawk.
I like the
Here is
Gene
Mason.
Simmons tongue out.
Masons. No?
No. It just looks like a dude with long hair.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm
disagree.
not selling
This
this.
is Landry from Oklahoma.
Oh, with the little American flag.
Yes.
That is
Is that the move?
huh. That's kind of like you look at the picture on the left there. It's not as. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Jameson looks like he's about 2.
Yeah. No.
Look at how big. Go back. Look at how
somebody's
big
young.
those sunglasses are in his
On his
face.
Yeah.
It's like he has a motorcycle helmet on.
Dude, it's absolutely fantastic. This is
Jameson
one of the
is
greatest
good.
competitions I've ever.
Jameson
I've ever
is good.
fought. Here's Callan from Minnesota. I don't mean to rush, but I'm just going to go through some of these. Miles has the lightning bolt. We've got Ridge from Idaho. Some of these names are great. Cash from Catawissa, good one. Ketchin.
Wait, that wasn't Catawissa, PA, was it?
It wasn't. It was Missouri.
Okay.
Ketchin from Lawton, Oklahoma. How about
Okay.
the names? Axel from Grillon. And then Ethan from Penrose. So anyway, this is the mullet.
I'm still going with
championships.
Epic.
You're going to go with Epic
I'm
still.
sticking with Epic.
We'll go back up. We'll show Epic one last time. So yeah, I knew that would excite you, but these are actual USA mullet championships. This is their third year doing it.
Now, can I tell you something fascinating about that?
What's that?
He has different sunglasses on in the 2 pictures.
In the 2 pictures. Yeah.
It's not just the angle, because the one is like the whole wraparound rim and the
Yeah.
other one is not.
You're
So
right.
he's got a whole sunglass wardrobe.
Yes.
Huh.
Pretty great.
Good for him. That is fun. That is fun.
Would
Yeah, I'm
you-
glad the mullet has
If
come back.
Jimmy grew out a mullet today, what would you say to him?
Whatever.
Doesn't matter to you.
I don't care.
You're fine with it.
I don't care either way. When he was little, we have pictures of him with a mohawk,
Uh-huh.
and he used to go in and request a mohawk. Which,
Really?
oh yeah, when he was like
He loved it.
6, and yeah, he would get. I
That's
can bring
funny.
some in, and I keep every now and then. I'm like, hey, maybe you should get a mohawk again. He's like, no. But when he was young, he thought he was cool. Well, it was cool.
Yeah.
You know, you're 6. You're like, hey,
At the
your
time.
kid has a mohawk. We're like, yeah, I know. That's what he wanted.
At the time. Before we dive into the Big Ten football, any thoughts on Little League? I watched Hollidaysburg last night. Did you get to watch any?
Yeah, well, I saw the inning that went bad.
Yeah. It happens. I mean, that's what happens in Little League baseball.
Like, there were lots of ground balls that weren't at anyone. There's a couple plays that they obviously could have made. But
it's funny you say that because I thought Texas had the opposite luck. I thought when Pennsylvania put the ball in play, they had the double play,
which
in
was
one inning.
an incredible play.
Really
the
incredible
backhand stab at second.
Yeah. But I felt like it was the opposite. I felt like when they put the ball in play, Texas ended up being in front of it. And when Texas put the ball in play, it felt like PA wasn't.
I remember just watching my brother pitch all those years because you got that view of, from center field. You can't see the shortstop. You can't see the second baseman most of the time.
Yeah.
And when there's a ground ball off the bat and your immediate thought is he going to get to – and because there was one that ended up going up the middle. I think it's the one that gave Texas the lead.
Okay.
If the shortstop is shaded over that way, he fields it. It's probably a 6-6-3 double play and the inning's over.
Yeah.
But he's straight up and the ball gets through to center field. All of a sudden a run scores and then, kind of the wheels fell off. So it's one of the stupid things of baseball. You can hit a 2-hop ground ball, and if it's in the hole, you look like the greatest hitter on earth.
Sure.
If it's right at somebody, then you look like you suck. And it's a 2-hop ground ball. So I thought Pennsylvania got a little. Obviously, Texas is good.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they lost to a bunch of bums.
Did you have any thoughts? I think it was either the third or the fourth inning. Kid came in the home, kind of dipped it again.
Oh, I heard about it, but I didn't see it.
It was, you and I already talked. Like, the umpires are volunteers. We're not here to necessarily like smash on them or just make them feel bad. It was, let me put it to you this way. He never left the dirt circle around the plate.
Yeah, the people that I saw who had seen it thought it was a bad call.
Okay.
So I forgot to go track it down.
And that's one of those where, like, Texas deserved to win. I'm not saying
Texas deserved to win, yes.
But it is one of those things where you just wonder, like, now they're up 3-2. You go into that inning and you feel better about yourself. Instead, now you feel like you've been slighted. Texas.
Oh, and it's one less out.
It's just
you
one
still
of those,
get to keep batting, and yes, I agree.
It was one of those moments where you're kind of like, boy, like you just wonder how different things play out.
That one call, absolutely.
Yeah. So shout out to Texas, nice job. I will say this because it's always funny to watch the different teams. Texas just looked bigger.
I thought so too.
And it's funny because sometimes just being like someone who watches a lot of sports, there are moments where you're just kind of like, oh, that team looks older. That team looks more mature. That team looks bigger. I don't even think Texas looked older. They just looked bigger. Yes. They just looked like a bigger team.
I'm with you. One of the things I was going to say about the Little League World Series before we get going, I know Sunday they're off. Sunday's off day. But as far as if you're telling people, if people are asking you or telling you it's a bucket list thing, they want to come.
Yeah.
I think the first Saturday or even Friday, Saturday is, I told you beforehand, I think it's like March Madness. It's like the Thursday, Friday when everyone's alive and everyone's playing and it's just baseball all day and it's fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, next weekend it's like the Final Four. It's the championship and it's great. I get it. But just for fun, I think if I was recommending to someone, if one of my old friends from Baltimore is like, hey, I want to come see the Little League World Series, I would have them come the first Saturday as opposed to the second one.
Yeah.
So that's just a thought.
I totally agree with you. Do you like the bracket? Do you like the way they do it now?
I don't even know how they do it now.
So the way it is now, if you lose that first game, you're like, I don't want to say you're done because you're still here and you're still playing, but you are kind of out of the running. Like like your consolation the rest of the way.
Well, I know. What is the number now? How many teams are here? 18? 20?
I'd have to look. I've lost count.
I know it's
used to be
at 16. It was perfect, and you can't get to another perfect bracket unless you go all the way to 32, and they're not going to 32 because that's absurd. So it does. There's pros and cons to all of it, and it's. I just feel like for most of obviously everyone wants to win the Little League World Series, but to get here, it's like Bucknell making March Madness. Right. Just getting here they'll be forever able to say we made it to Williamsport.
So according to the website, there's 20 teams still. They're just, I guess this is what I would say. You're here for a long time. So when you lose your first game, it's obviously still a great experience. Everything around off of the field is worth being here for the amount of time that you're here. Losing that first game, though, and there's no losers bracket, there's no pool play. It's just kind of like you lost it and it's done and we're here now. I don't know. I don't think I love the single elimination process of it. The whole thing's interesting. I wonder too for some of the kids, especially not the non-superstar players on the team. I think for the Olympics, a lot of the Olympians who make the Olympics, the competing part is not the most fun. Sure. And I know we've talked about all the stuff that goes on in the village and all that stuff, but just I'm sure that there are some of these kids that once they get eliminated and the pressure's off. Yeah.
Now they do go play. I know Montoursville has hosted games. They have crossover games where like an American team will play a foreign team that never gets to play, and they'll go to local little league fields and play.
Yes.
But I wonder if those kids that just kind of get to ride it out now and just have fun and eat ice cream sundaes every day.
Right.
If there's a point to this where like this is a blast and there's no more pressure.
No, that's very, very true. Very true. You probably are right. Anything else? Big Ten, before I dive into the Big Ten stuff, because I find some of it fascinating in general.
The Big Ten is fast. I also wanted to mention Deshaun Watson got 11 games. That I think was announced yesterday while we were on the air. I'm surprised. I thought it'd be a season. But I know it's a crazy situation when you look all around. It's all civil and there's no criminal and they've settled and they haven't all this stuff. I will see if he gets to play at all. It'll be interesting if he plays it all this year. Mm-hmm. And I think after that, I'm just surprised. And I think, weren't you surprised that Deshaun Watson's going to be playing NFL games this year?
I'm not saying he should or shouldn't be in the NFL, because that's a different conversation. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll have next week sometime. I'm just surprised that he is. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that it's right or wrong. I'm just shocked that the NFL is not putting him away for a year.
That's right. I am too. From a PR move, from a publicity.
I'm really surprised.
Now, maybe this is above and beyond. Maybe the NFL said to Cleveland, or they've had this discussion, and because the first arbitrator came back at 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, 6 games, I think. I believe. They say, all right, we're going to bounce it to 11, and then you're not going to play him. Mm-hmm. So even once he's out of jail, off suspension, you're still going to sit him, so it makes it look like, and then we'll have a clean season to come back in next year. Now, I think because he's with Cleveland and because they don't have a quarterback, I don't think anyone expects that 11 games into the season, Cleveland's going to have anything left to play for. So it's not like he's hopping on a playoff team and now the postseason is going to be tainted by this Deshaun Watson.
Nothing the NFL does surprises me. What surprises me is the Cleveland part of this. I'm shocked that they're like riding with him. Really, really surprised. But then again, like they did the Josh Gordon thing. Like it's not like Cleveland hasn't. It's not like Cleveland, and I'm not comparing the Watson issue to the Gordon issue, but I'm just saying like I just am blown away that Cleveland's just kind of, I don't want to say they're twiddling their thumbs, but it amazes me that this is where they're at and they're just kind of still riding it out.
It is an interesting personnel move from their standpoint too. I'm with you. At this point, they just didn't cut bait and say, we're going in a different direction. No, that's a good call.
It's really, really weird. Big Ten completes 7-year, $7 billion media rights agreement with Fox, CBS, and NBC. Lots of different ways to go with this, so I will just read off some of the details here. They're arguing that this deal is going to set up what is the most powerful athletic conference. We can debate that, whether or not it'll be the SEC. The deal will begin July 1st, 2023, and it will run through the end of 2029, 2030, that athletic year in the spring. It is contingent on USC and UCLA entering the conference. It says the revenue will rise substantially beginning in year 3. This is all coming from ESPN.com. From Kevin Warren, who is the Big Ten commissioner, it's very expensive to operate our athletic departments. These new deals will continue to provide stability for athletic departments to service our students in a highly productive manner, allowing them to get a world-class education, but be treated in a manner that they rightfully deserve.
That's a politically correct statement. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Because I think you had just sent me the thing about streaming versus cable.
Yes.
10 years ago, it wouldn't have been billions, but 10 years ago, whatever the TV money was, America would have thought, well, of course, because this is where now it just seems like the relevance of old-fashioned television is becoming less and less.
Sure.
When I first saw that, that's one of the things that
Did you think
surprised
the number
me.
was big?
I thought it was huge.
Okay, I'm going to solve this for you. The reason you think the number is big is because most people don't realize that as of last week, streaming surpassed cable for the first time truly.
Right, you sent me that.
So this isn't a fee of what it's actually worth now. This is a survival fee. This is what it costs for these cable channels to stay in the game, because the only thing that merits people turning on the TV and seeing something live, one of the last things is sports.
Correct.
So I bizarrely think $7 billion, I wouldn't say it's a steal, but I think when you look at it, is literally the cost.
It's either relevant or it's like the last morsel of food.
If the Big Ten would have said $10 billion, I think they would have said yes. I don't know what the price tag would have been for Fox, NBC, and CBS to be like, we can't afford it, because when you're trying to survive,
because they can't survive,
tag.
right? No, I get it. That is because that's what I thought too. That I'm surprised they did this, but if you're on the TV side, you had to do it.
You had no choice because Amazon was breathing down your neck. I mean, that was the next step for whether it was Apple, Amazon, whoever it may have been. Excuse me. That was going to be. This is the. I don't want to call it the thing, because obviously you still have the NFL, the NBA, all these other ones. But college football is one that they could grab and they could get now. This sounds weird. I think for a CBS, this keeps you relevant through 2030. If you don't have this, in your CBS, I mean, you still have the NFL stuff, but what are you? What are you doing?
I'm with you.
So I don't know.
I'm with you.
You had asked about money earlier. Most of the league distributed $54.3 million. So Big Ten teams are getting $54.3 right now. With this, they're saying at a minimum, they believe they'll get $80 to $100 million a year annually, and that's a minimum.
So they were already getting 54.
Yes.
So they're looking at roughly a double.
I would say they're going to end up getting, by the time they get to 27, 28, 29, with the incentives that are in place and where it's heading, they're going to get 3 digits and more.
That's a lot of money.
Are PLS a ton factored into money distribution?
The what?
Are PLS factored into money distribution?
Educate me.
What's a PLF?
The player licensing.
The what?
The player licensing fees.
Yeah.
Oh, that I don't know. In his quote,
the athletes are not going to just roll over when Big Ten takes in $8 billion and say, okay, you guys can keep on.
So is some of this going to pay the players?
One of the quotes that Kevin Warren said, quote, "This will help our student athletes in their continued pursuit of name, image, and likeness opportunities, because now you're going to be on linear TV from morning to night on Saturday with 3 massive organizations." To me, it sounds like they're passing the buck, like they're trying. I mean, that's what NIL is them saying we're paying the athletes without actually having to pay the athletes.
And I think if you saw, I want to say Fox still will have the noon slot.
Yeah.
CBS will have the 3:30 slot where they used to have SEC games. Now it's going to be a Big Ten game. And then who is the other? It's NBC, isn't it?
Yeah.
NBC is going to have the primetime game. Yeah. So that's how it's going to. And then the Big Ten network still exists.
Yeah.
So you are going to get, it's going to be the Northwestern network, but they will have, some game every week. And it's often it's a game that doesn't make it to network TV. So
no, one of the other commissioners in the Big Ten also made the statement that they believe this will basically, they won't have to cancel a sport from the Big Ten for the rest of the decade.
So how happy now is Penn State that all those years ago some guy said we should join the Big Ten? It turned out to be a decent move.
It's going to be fascinating to see how the rest of it shapes out. I don't think they're done at 16. I think they're going to go to 18 or 20.
I agree.
Who decides to jump on board? There's a lot of North Carolina talk. I don't know if you've seen that or not. It'll be interesting to see who those, because obviously everyone's going to fight for Notre Dame, which you and I kind of disagree on a little bit. I don't think it's as big of a deal whether or not they get Notre Dame. At this point, I think it's flipped. I think Notre Dame should be looking in the mirror and saying, like, now might be the time. That's just my personal opinion.
So my next question is, they're at 16 now, you said, right?
They're 16
They were
now.
at 14, and then they're with USC, UCLA.
Yes.
Now there is babble of lawsuit to keep them from joining. Did you hear? Did you tell me that, or did I? Okay. So then the next question is, do we go? I say we. Does the Big Ten go? Do they try to get to 21, have 3 divisions of 7, and then a wild card, so they have their own 14 playoff?
Yeah.
Do they try to get to or 20, have 4 divisions of 5?
Right.
24, 4 divisions
20,
of 6.
If you're gonna go, if you're going past 20, I think you're shooting for 24.
You got to get to 24.
I think you're going to 24. But here's the thing, like, it's this awkward thing of like, once you go past 16, what's 24? Like, what's the difference between 20 and 24? Because some people are going to be like, well, 24, that's absurd. Is it though? Like, once you're past 16, I don't think.
Well,
it's
once
that
you're past,
crazy.
the difference between 16 and 24 is now a third of your money's gone.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
It's going to cost if you want North Carolina to come in, now Penn State just gets less money.
Well, in this deal, but see, what they'll do is they'll have it worked out. So, like, if you come in late, this is what you get worked into this deal, and you don't really get to be a
so
part
they'll
of
prorate
it.
it.
You
That's
don't
fair.
really get
That's
to be
fair.
a part of it until you get to the next deal in 2031, which actually might. If you're Carolina now, are you looking at it and being like, can we really wait till 2031 to like get a piece of that pie? Maybe
So
we are better off staying in the
If
ACC.
we were running the Big Ten,
yeah,
we would have our 16, and we would put the feelers out and say we're looking for 4 more. We're going to 20. So it puts the pressure on everyone.
Well, if you and I were running the Big Ten, I'd be looking at you and I'd be saying we need, like, the goal here should be to get to 24.
But I would tell them first we're getting to 20.
Why?
So people have urgency now.
Maybe. Don't you feel like they have the urgency regardless?
Maybe. They might.
Because
I wouldn't know.
I would be looking at you and I would be saying, we want to try. We want Oregon. We want Arizona. And we got to find 2 more teams out west, so there's a 6-team division out west. That's what I would be saying to you. We want the best 6 teams that we can possibly have on the West Coast for a West division. Okay. They'll still have to play 2 crossovers or something. They'll still have to come. Now, I heard this, and I don't know if you've heard this or not. USC and UCLA are building a joint complex. Have you heard about this?
No.
They're building a joint complex in Indiana. And apparently that's where they are going to reside when they come for their travel. It's already designed, it's in the works, and it is happening in Indianapolis. And apparently the reason they're doing that is they believe they're going to be able to get chip-ins financially for like the NFL Draft Combine, which is in Indianapolis, all these different things. So it will help.
Interesting.
Yes. So if you're a USC football player,
on Wednesday morning, when they're playing at Penn State or at Michigan or anywhere, on Wednesday morning they get in a plane, they fly to Indiana.
I'm being told it's even deeper than that because apparently these facilities they have classrooms, like they have full cafeterias. Like apparently, like when they leave and they go, like they are staying. So like if let's say they played USC on Saturday, like they played in USC on Sunday night, they're on the plane, and let's say they're playing like Purdue, they are staying at
so
that
they're gonna practice there and
Monday
live there
through
all week.
Friday, and then going to Purdue, and then if they play at like Michigan, wherever the next week, they're at the facility.
They'll come back and then they'll just travel.
I was told they are basically having a college experience at this complex.
You know the problem with that? You know the immediate problem with that?
Is that if I'm going to USC, I don't want to be in Indiana during the fall.
Well, your girlfriend's back in California,
It's
hanging out with basketball players
interesting.
while your football players are in the Midwest.
This is, again, we're just thinking out loud. The Oregon floating, like the Big Ten, I don't understand the Big Ten and Oregon not getting in a room 2 weeks ago. I don't really understand.
I'm with you. Well, and here, when you think about it, you got 12 games on the schedule. They're on the road 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
So for one of the USC, UCLA, they're on the road is with their.
Sure.
So you've either got 4 real road games or 5 real road games. And that's not counting USC. So yes, they would have to use this facility 3 times a year.
Maybe, if that. Because you're assuming that those road games are conference road games, and some of them probably aren't. Like if I'm USC, I probably have 2-3 non-conference
and you know what?
games, and I'm probably playing those at home.
I haven't even thought it comes in so much more to playing basketball than it would in football. I think too.
So
because then when they do their road trip, they can do a Wednesday night, a Saturday. Their scheduling doesn't even matter. If they're playing Michigan and they would play 2 road games the same week. If they're playing Michigan State and Indiana, it doesn't matter if it's Thursday, Saturday, if it's Wednesday, if they're there all week, they're there all week. They've got classes, they've got practice facilities.
Here, my question, and I'm trying to look it up right now.
They just don't have their girlfriends.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Big Ten is Nike, are they not?
Yeah, Penn State's Nike.
I
would think they're all Nike.
I
Penn
think
State's
Big
Nike.
Ten is a Nike. So again, I don't really understand what's going on with Oregon right now. If the Big Ten had like an Adidas deal, then I would understand why getting Oregon in a room with Phil Knight is a complication. But if the Big Ten is a Nike conference and Oregon's just floating there, like I don't really get it.
Well, Oregon doesn't. Oregon probably feels like part of. They're the Pac-10. They want to be in the Pac-10. They probably are sad at the breakup, and they're not.
Think?
I would think.
Really?
I would think.
Just because it was their best chance to win?
No, just because it's their history. It's their, when Maryland left the ACC for the Big Ten, Maryland basketball people were mad. They were because, this was they grew up watching Duke and Carolina and NC State, and they had these hatred for it. And like, even though Big Ten basketball is really good and ACC basketball is really good, it's just different.
Interesting. All right, yeah, that's what I got for Big Ten. I'm fascinated to see where it goes. I am too. I still don't love what's happening. Like I hate the non-geographical and kind of like the condensing of like the power schools, but it is fascinating to watch.
I don't hate it as much as I did.
Okay.
When I first heard the geographic, because we've grown up with college conferences are geographically based. When I heard USC, UCLA, I was like, this is stupid. I am fascinated too. How are they going to pull this off with all this money involved? Like you would think there's too much money involved and too many intelligent people around for them to screw it up.
Sure.
But
I still think there's this, I think their biggest problem right now, when I say problem, like NCAA football in general, even the NFL has 32 teams. And I get they all can't win a championship, but even like these professional sports leagues realize like it's important to have 30 top tier organizations. Like it's important. Mm-hmm. NCAA football has a problem right now because they probably don't even have 6. Like right now, there's probably 5 schools that can win a title, and I don't know if anybody else can.
In general, I agree with you. You've
and
got your Clemsons, your Alabamas, your Ohio States, and then there's a handful of others that balance it out.
And so if you're them at some point, you've got to look around and figure out like how can we make this work, but there's still like 16 teams that like could do this.
That really believe. No, I'm with you.
And maybe there's another 16 that are kind of like looking and peeking in, but like right now that's their biggest problem.
I'm with you.
I don't know. And this condensing is not helping it. I don't think.
You don't think?
I don't. I think it's like you just said, like in the Big Ten right now, just because the USC and UCLA, they're going to go to 18, 20 teams. It's Ohio State. It's Ohio State. Maybe Michigan knocks them off. Maybe like the rivalry, Penn State gets them one year. Like, but it's Ohio State. Well, and it's the same thing with the SEC. Like, it's Alabama. Like Georgia got it, and and Georgia has it rolling right now. But like at the end of the day, like it's Alabama or Georgia. Like you're gonna.
So you don't think this helps the Big Ten?
No, I don't think it helps the diversity of like who can win a champion, the national title.
Well, here would be my thought, and this is
and just real quick, because at least when geographically it was spread out, it wasn't so much that like it was these tight little packages of geography. It was that, there's enough conferences and enough conference title winners that like you could talk yourself into like 2 or 3 teams from every conference might win it this year if the ball goes the right way. And we have completely lost that.
Well, this would be my thought process if I'm UCLA or USC. And I look at the Pac-10 football. When's the last time Pac-10 football won a national championship? I know Oregon played for a national title.
Washington made it a couple of years ago.
Against, they made the Final Four, but they didn't. So, and I don't know the numbers on this. How many California kids are they losing because these kids, we can't win at UCLA?
Sure.
We can't. But now, as a Big Ten school, how many national championship games has the Big Ten played in? How many Final Four? Now, again, they're essentially all Ohio State, but they now have a belief that our conference can win. And when you're recruiting, now their aspect of we're in the best conference in the country, we run coast to coast, we have the most money, all this stuff. Now on the flip side, maybe someone in California tells me they get all the California kids anyway. Maybe they do.
Here's this. Okay. I think this is why college basketball works. And I think it's the thing that I think it could help college football if they adapted it. College basketball works because you might not go to the 5th best school in the ACC because Gonzaga is going to get to be like a top 3 seed and whatever. And so like some 4-star recruit will go, I'm going to go to Gonzaga instead of NC State. And so what ends up happening is you get these VCUs and Wichita States and Gonzagas, and you get all these other college programs that get to kind of rise up into like the top 30 because kids are just looking for an opportunity to play in the tournament. And college football has kind of lost that. Like these other schools don't really get a chance to get these guys. Like a Boise, instead of being consistently good over and over again, they're there and it drops back off again because they're still going to go to the 5th best school in the SEC.
Well, I think what happened to Boise is they lost their coach.
Yes.
And
Peterson
one of the things about Gonzaga is because few has stayed.
No, so you think it's a coaching thing?
I think it has something to do with it because right now Cincinnati is like that. Cincinnati's the one that's on the cusp of sneaking in.
So if I'm like the 150th football recruit, and I can go to Mississippi State, or I can go to like not Cincinnati's to like I'm trying to think of like an obscure like I'm always going to
Cincinnati had
go
a
to
chance to make
State.
Cincinnati almost made.
I understand, but I'm always going to go to Mississippi State. Like that's the problem you have right now. Is like you're either playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, and if I'm a top 300 recruit, like I'm going to one of those 2 conferences. It is what it is.
I don't know. I think there is that level where Boise had for a while with Cincinnati. There's a rogue top 10 team kind of every year.
I know, but don't you think every year it becomes more and more because they're not playing enough good schools?
Possibly.
Like I don't think it's happening because these schools are unbelievably good. I think it's because they're not really playing anybody.
No, but we've had that argument. Gonzaga wouldn't go undefeated playing in the Pac-12.
Agreed, but the difference is they're still getting dudes that could compete at that
go
level.
in the NBA.
And what I'm saying to you is like in NCAA football, like those teams aren't getting those dudes anymore.
It would be interesting to see how many guys Cincinnati put in the league, how many guys Boise put in the league, because
you're never going to get a Gonzaga of football, I guess is what I'm saying. It's not happening. The system isn't set up in a manner in which it encourages kids to go and do that. It isn't. Gonzaga got back-to-back number 1 recruits in the nation. Can you imagine that? I mean, Jackson State kind of did it, but it's a different world.
It's a different world.
Yeah,
no, I get that. No, I do get your point. I think the thing about the difference between basketball and football is you just need so few of greater players. Like because of of the
I get
the
that,
importance
but
of
there's more
offensive
players.
and defensive line.
I get it.
You
but
can't
there's
just
more,
bring in one lineman.
Yes, but there's more football players.
I get it,
Right.
but there's only one like best. You bring in Chet Holmgren, and all of a sudden he does something to your team that one 5-star offensive tackle doesn't do to your football team.
That's fair. I just feel like NCAA football, probably like 8 years ago, when they decided they were going to expand, like when they decided they were going to do a tournament, they had an opportunity to go, hey, let's have 8 teams and let's give every major conference an automatic bid. And I think what that would have done for college football would have been significant.
Well,
you probably wouldn't have had any of this happening. Every conference would have had a chance to have a representative at the table. And now all of a sudden, like the diversity in every school, like their fan bases, and the idea of like, if we win the conference, we're in, baby. And like what that would have solved, I think would have been significant, and they missed it.
I agree. And I was in favor of what they had before because college football had the most important regular season of any sport.
Sure.
Because with expanded, even baseball now, we're seeing it. Every 500 record, you can get in the playoffs. Maybe not that much, but and I think they were trying to hold true to form, and I was in favor of it. Now, in looking back, I agree with your sentiment, and it has hurt.
There was a point in time, like early 2010s. There were 11. I believe there was 11. There was 11 like. I don't want to call them major conferences, but you had the 5 major, and then you had like the 6 mid-major. So there was a moment in time where you could have had a 16-team field, and you could have gave all 11 conferences a bid, and then you would have had 5 wild cards. And essentially you would have had like a mini March Madness. But again, it's that incentivization of like, do I go to the 8th best school in the SEC?
Right.
Or do I go to the best school in the Sun Belt because we're going to get an automatic bid and what that
I can go
done,
to SMU and still make it to the dance.
What that would have done for college football, that's the boat they missed. Because you would have had, instead of having 6 powerhouses, you would have had 30 legitimate football teams across the country all believing they had a chance to like compete for a national title. And now, like, you have this different thing. And I think once you get it down, it's awesome. Like, watching Georgia, Alabama is awesome. I'm not disputing that. But it's one game.
It's a long way to get there.
And I'm with you. You could have had all of this talent spread out across the country fighting for these automatic bids, and they missed it. The boat has.
I don't disagree with anything you just said. And again, at the time, I thought they did it right. Yeah. In looking back, it has hurt because I never thought it would be. It's literally Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and someone else.
Yes.
Oklahoma's in the hunt. LSU's in the hunt. Georgia's in the hunt. Notre Dame's in the hunt. There's a couple others. Yes. But it's those 3.
And what will happen is those conferences will swing from time to time. But it's still the idea of like, you're always just going to have one school in that conference that's your best shot. Like and it's just, I don't know. I really think they have missed the boat on that, but they just signed a $7 billion TV deal. So maybe I should shut up.
They didn't miss it that much.
Maybe I should just shut up and let them do what
they did not miss it that much.
Anything else before we head out today?
No, I would say enjoy the weekend. I know kids. I know there's people I see all over Facebook, kids moving their kids into college. I know Carrie, our news director, is moving her kid in tomorrow. Next week, I got a couple that are going off. So we've got to that point of year where school is starting again, no matter if your kid's in kindergarten or in grad school. Penn College is already in. Their class has already started. So, it is that changing of the guard. And then next Friday, when we're sitting here next Friday, which we may have a couple special guests.
We do.
High school football kicks off next Friday.
Crazy.
It does not seem possible.
It's pretty nuts. Just for next week, we have Joe Smith is going to come back Tuesday. We're doing summer movies. So I actually had to make my list here of the movies that I've seen this summer so we can recap that. He does North Central Cinema with us, for anybody who doesn't know Joe Smith. And then Friday, a couple of special guests. I think we're going to try to do a high school football survivor pool. I think is what
we might try to do that. Yep.
We'll recap Little League World Series because obviously Saturday, Sunday is the championships. So a couple of people coming on next week. It'll be fun. Be exciting.
CTL this weekend and next weekend, Newsies. Buy your tickets. Go Google Williams Sport Community Theater League, and you can do that. And that's all we got.
Good. And then one last time, thank you guys. Really, really appreciate it. This was I got a text message from Jerry in the morning. I think he was pretty fired up about it. So really really big deal for us. So just thank you to everybody that follows. Thank you for everybody who comes to us for their local news information and for their midday show.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Please go enjoy your weekends.
We'll see.